afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our Magnid Monday meeting. I hope you had a successful start into the week so far. My name is Christina, and I will be moderating the session for you today. We will be walking you through one of the main and most relevant features of our platform, creating personalized user journeys for the different attendee groups, deciding who sees what and when. Some general information beforehand. During this meeting, you can ask all your questions in the Q&A session, which you will find at the bottom bar within this Zoom frame, so our speakers can answer them for you live at the end. In case you would like to join the discussion, you can simply click the raise hand button at the bottom, and we will invite you to the panel. Should you experience any technical difficulties, you can contact us in the chat in the upper right corner of our meeting room or within the Zoom chat. Please note that we are recording this meeting and it will be made available on demand in this venue in our media library room next door. Now, before I invite Ilse to the stage to show you how to find your way in a sea of data and create the personalized attendee journeys, I first hand over to Lisbeth to introduce our latest exciting features.
Yes, thank you very much, Christina, for this introduction. I'm very excited to be part of yet another Magnid Monday meeting today. And before we hear Ilse speak, as Christina already mentioned, I wanted to share some news and updates with you and with our community. And yeah, very, very interesting what we have to share today. So we are in the last rounds of testing, but we are very, very happy to announce that very, very soon, hopefully at the end of this week, we are going to release our new media board widget that we have created for you and your attendees of the virtual venues. So during our last Magnid Monday meeting, we have introduced to you our new 360 feature, and this is yet another step in our progress that we are making. And yeah, we are very much looking forward to that. So the media board will be released in 2 editions, and this is the first edition. It's an extension, if you like, of the existing multimedia library, which will allow you to mix and match content in different categories, and will also to allow you to combine different content pieces for one particular topic that you would like to bring to your attendees. And then in a second release step, we are then going to expand on that feature further, making recommendations to users based on the likes that they have set, etc. So we are very, very happy for you to have this new feature. All of our current license holders will receive an email once the update is ready to be released to your existing licenses. And yeah, then we can just simply run an upgrade process and make this new feature available to you. I wanted to show you very briefly a little bit more on this feature. So just to give you a live preview of our media board, we have set up a very, very brief introduction in one of our test venues for you. So what you see here is just the icon. I've just made it very big, so it's very easy to notice. And you might have already seen this on the slides that I've just presented to you. This is what the new media board looks like. So you will have categories, you will have your thumbnails and your preview images just the same. And yeah, as mentioned, you can combine different pieces of information, different pieces of assets to explore on a topic that you would like to bring closer to your audience. So for this particular content card, as we call it, we have, for example, combined an image with a video on YouTube, in this particular case, to bring you closer a little bit of the biography of Albert Einstein. But what you can also do is, if you don't want to place that much content, we also have the option to just show one piece of content with a description at the bottom. And what we will also make available for you with this release already is that from here you can also join live discussions on this particular content piece. And as you can see here as well, attendees and users have the option to like content to show once they have found content pieces really interesting, which will very, very interesting for you and other users as part of the venue to see which content was liked the most. So as mentioned, as a second step, recommendations based on likes and user group interests will then be made available in a second release step. So that's enough for the new features today. And with that, I would like you to prepare yourselves to hear our main speaker, Ilse, speak today. The Magnid Monday meeting series started in January, and back then we already spoke briefly about how you can make your user's journey through the venue very, very personalized and very customized as well. And Ilse will tell us a little bit more on how user groups can be of benefit for exactly that. And with that, I hand it back to Christina.
Thank you very much, Lisbeth, for showing us this new cool feature. I'm really excited about the media board, and I'm very much looking forward to experience it myself. I would like to introduce you all now to Ilse. She is our international sales consultant. She has a lot of experience in event and project management, and she definitely is one of the key players in our sales team. Welcome, Ilse.
Thanks very much, Christina, for the kind introduction. It's nice for me today as well to swap my moderator seat for a speaker seat for this time. So I'm excited to be here today to talk to you all about customized user journeys. We have seen virtual events grow exponentially in the past 2 to 3 years and really have become a key part in strategic meeting management. Now, this change comes with many advantages. Virtual events can save you time, money, and it makes it much easier to attend for your attendees. Now, your attendees, instead of having to take a few days from their busy schedules to travel somewhere, they can easily log in for just a few hours to watch a meeting or even just a few specific sessions from the ease of their home or from their office. It's all become about relevance, as we will see as well during my presentation. Now, this advantage allows you to share more content to a broader audience, to a larger number of attendees. However, this also poses one obstacle, of course, because how do we make sure that this wider audience does not become lost in a sea of data? Luckily, there's a very easy solution for that, and that is to divide your attendees into different categories or groups. You can provide each with their own experience, user journey, and targeted information. So you basically decide who sees what, when, and where. Now, how do you cluster your groups to make sure that every single attendee sees the right content and attends those meetings that are relevant to them? You can split them, for instance, according to interests. And that is not necessarily to withhold information from your audience, even though it can be, but it will certainly also help your audience to focus on the part of the event that is relevant for them. This can also be based, of course, on industries. Think of departments, age, nationalities, buying preferences, and so on. Another way to use your user roles and to divide and cluster your groups can be by means of breakout groups. Anyone who has organized face-to-face meetings with a large amount of attendees in breakout groups knows the struggle of making sure that every single attendee attends the right meeting. Now, with user roles in virtual events, you can simply split your attendees beforehand, so you can make sure that they all enter the right meeting room. You can also use it and split it by means of gamification. So you can use content restrictions for a team building activity, for instance. You would split your audience into different groups and make content specific to those groups available. And then you put members of different groups into one team building workshop and give them a challenge to solve. So each person sees something different in their venue, and only when they put together and communicate with each other what they see and what information they have, they will be able to solve a challenge. So kind of like an escape room, if you will. So this way you see that you can really make your venue and your meeting dynamic, make it lively, and again, make it relevant. With user roles, you can use one venue for multiple different and personalized experiences. Now that you've clustered your attendees, you can start building those unique experiences. And we can start by providing multilingual content, allowing your participants to easily obtain information in their native language simply by changing the settings in the dropdown as you see on the screen. So you see by changing the language, all of the content changes automatically. So this can be standard, the website settings that are translated, which you see at the bottom, for instance, at the privacy preferences. But how great is it as well to provide your actual content in different languages? And here you can think of videos, welcome videos, agendas, the text notifications you see on the screen, and so on. As a second step, you can create separate areas or rooms accessible for different groups. Now, this can be as simple as assigning different breakout rooms to different breakout groups, as the example I've just mentioned, in which case each group would only be able to enter their own meeting room, and that way you can ensure that everyone is in the right meeting. You can, however, also create entirely different venues for your attendees, and they could have the same venue exterior as you would see on the left, but clicking on the arrow to enter, they would actually each see a different interior design. So this sounds maybe a little bit abstract, but it basically just means that you as a meeting owner create all the different areas and give again specific access to dedicated groups. The example you see on the screen is here based on different departments, for instance. So in this case, sales and marketing would see a different area upon entering the building as opposed to the group of finance. So this way you can create different venues for different product interests. Or if you think, for instance, in the healthcare industry, it could be oncologists versus cardiologists. Every single person entering the venue would directly see all of the content that is relevant for them and even the design that could be relevant for them. You can decide from here on again that there are either more areas for your separate groups or basically an entirely separate venue for each single group, or that the group would join again together, for instance, by entering the same meeting rooms together. So this way you have one venue, multi-purposes. Even within these personalized areas, you can also create, again, personalized content. So as an example, we can take the meeting agenda as you see on the screen. If you have many sessions going on simultaneously, you want to make sure, right, that each group knows when and where the sessions are that are relevant to them and where they take place. So by uploading a different agenda for each group, they would automatically see their relevant schedules. Basically, the person logs on, the system would recognize the person, cluster them in a specific group. The person opens the agenda and then directly sees their relevant schedule. This way you can have 100 meetings happening within one venue at the same time and still make sure that none of your attendees get overwhelmed and that they know exactly where to go. Another example could be to actively restrict information on content here. And this can be the case, for instance, when you are presenting a new prototype at an event, but perhaps press is also attending this event and should not see certain information. In that case, you can simply restrict the content so the press group does not have access to any sensitive data. Finally, you want to make sure that all your content is available at the right time and fitting to your storyline. You can schedule each content piece to appear when and where you want it. A couple of examples here. For instance, you can have a multiple day event happening and you can pre-schedule all your meeting agendas to automatically publish each day with the sessions of that day. So that basically means you would pre-upload all of your agendas, set a timer on them, and they would automatically swap out every single day. It could also be when you're launching a new product or service, and then you can decide for content to be available only after the main plenary session, for instance. This way you can decide where your attendees focus on first, making sure that they first attend the meetings that you want them to, and then only browse, for instance, the other content available in the venue afterwards. You could also use it to collect feedback afterwards and make your post-event survey available at the end of your event. This is actually something that we do with the Magnet Monday meetings as well. So you see a QR code always published after we're almost done with the meeting. This is all scheduled and time-based. And scheduling content really allows you to focus on your live event. So you can really focus on what matters at that time. Now, all of these steps sound maybe like a lot, but with Magnet, creating these personalized user journeys is a very easy step. And it's actually a self-service functionality. To show you this, I would hand over back to Lisbeth actually to demonstrate you briefly how to put these steps into work in the venue designer.
Yes, thank you very much, Ilse. And I will do so now just to give you a very brief idea of how it works working with the different user groups in the venue designer actually. So Ilse has very nicely broken down the journey into basically 4 different steps. And I just want to pick that up again. You might have seen throughout the presentation the slide with our text notification, welcoming guests in different languages. So the multilingual content is the first item I would like to pick on. During your license ordering process with us, you get to define up to 6 different languages that you can use as part of your venue. You don't have to, but it's an optional feature. And you will see those languages and as part of your venue designer settings pretty much everywhere. So wherever you have the option to customize text or name things or place widgets, etc., you will see our language bar at the top right corner mostly. And here you will see the differences in actually where I have put the text notification in, which is a very easy one. In this case, we copy paste text into our venue designer. And based on the language I select in the bar, I can modify the language appearance of that particular widget. For content widgets, for example, where you have a PDF document, it works the same. You will simply upload different language PDF documents into your contents and then link the different files. So basically that means when you choose a different language, you get to see a different PDF document depending on where you click and what your language selection are. The second step that you can use to make your user journey very personal is, as Ilse mentioned, to restrict certain areas or to actually make users go a particular route through your venue. So by that, you would use our area accessibility settings over here. So in this particular case, you can make this area reachable, accessible only for those user roles that you define for the area to be reachable. So in this case, if we don't have any selection here, it basically means that all user groups that are in the venue actually can access this area. But this is then the settings in the bottom right corner, where you basically can restrict one area to one user group. The personalization of content works on a very similar way, just in a different place. So let's say the text notification that you would like to show to your attendees is for one particular user group, only because you want to address your users with a personal message. So in that particular case, if I had limited the text notification to one of the user roles that we have predefined, only users part of that particular user group would be able to see the text notification. And that makes it very easy to actually welcome your VIPs, to welcome your press, or whatever your differentiation in user groups is, with a very personalized greeting. The fourth step, as Ilse mentioned, is your scheduling, your time-based content. And here we have the scheduling tab also available for all the widgets, where you can set a start time and end time, or both, which makes your content available as of, until, or within a certain time period. And that could be the case, for example, if you have different text notifications or welcome messages on different days. So you could have a different message for day 1 of your event, day 2 of your event, or if you have an annual license where you have your venue open 24/7, you can modify the text notifications over time. And by time scheduling your content, it basically means that you can prepare. So if you know already when your text notification is supposed to change, you can actually set this up already, publish, so you don't have to worry at the time off that you have access to a computer and access to internet in order to make those changes happen. What you can then also do is combine these different factors. It is then possible to set up different SCIs, which are scheduled content instances, which can you do by clicking on this little plus icon. We won't go into too much detail of this for now. If you're interested in how that works, let us know. We're happy to set up a training session with you, but that way you can combine the different elements of making a text notification available in certain languages for particular user groups in a certain time frame only, and that's all pre-planned. And you can all set this up before your live meeting, as Ilse mentioned, so you can completely focus on your live event. Now, the question is, how do you know which user is in which group? How can you make that happen now that you have set all the different text notifications or content widgets or areas and have that restricted to certain user groups? That also is very easy by using the CSV upload. I have already prepared a download of one of our venues. You will know that you have the authorities in here, and you will just simply add the user role someone is part of, and they will then have access to that particular content. users can be part of multiple groups if needed. And once you have made your list, have completed your list, you make it available by clicking into the Manage Accounts box and upload the new user groups into the venue designer. And by that, your user groups are actually related to the content that you have put restrictions on. And yeah, with that, I guess that's so much for the designer. I hand it back to Ilse.
Thank you very much, Lisbeth, and also for this small demonstration of the venue designer, for really putting the steps that I've just mentioned into practice, basically. So these simple steps help your attendees avoiding chaos, saving time, and make your venue overall more user-friendly. Because again, relevance is key. You can share relevant content, concentrate on the important, and bring the user experience to the next level. Help your attendees choose the right track to reach the peak of success. Thank you very much. I'm Christina. Over to you.
Well, Ilse and Lisbeth, thank you so much for these insights. And wow, isn't it amazing that you can actually combine different group of attendees with different interests in the same venue, simultaneously attending the same event, though having access to different and personalized data. I really love this feature, and it's definitely one of the most relevant and let's say special features of our platform. We now open the floor to the audience for questions. And as a reminder, you can also ask them in the Q&A button via the taskbar below within the Zoom in-frame. And I already see the first question coming through. So how do I know which user group is which?
Maybe that's a very good question for me to take in this particular case. You might have seen from the screen share just now that the user roles I've shown you, they were just called role 1 to role 5. That basically is a standard setting that we have as a standard deployment when we make venue licenses available. And you can always rename them. You can't do that yourself. You would have to let us know. You can do that during the deployment process or even after. So if you already know at the point of deployment that your user groups are named WIP, press, cardiologist, oncologist, whatever the case is that you're working on, we can rename them for you. And we can also do that after the initial deployment. You just let us know, we make an agreement, and on when is a good time to make those updates for you. So that is very, very customized. Or customizable more, I would like to say. So the other option, of course, is that you, for yourself and within your team, know role 1 is VIP, role 2 is your press, so that you basically have like a legend for the existing user roles in your venue, and yeah, simply know which role you used for which case.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lisbeth, for the insight. I already see the second question coming through. That would be, do our attendees see the rooms that they are not allowed into? Ilse,
if you don't mind, I would take that one, because I think that really fits nicely to the presentation. It's a very good question. So actually, it depends. So if you would decide to have one area with all your meeting rooms shown, so for instance, you have 10 different meeting room doors, in that case, yes, all your attendees would see all the 10 doors. And if you then restrict access to every single meeting room behind that door, in that case, they would then see just the navigation arrow going into the door that they are allowed to go into. So they would still go into the right meeting room, but they would see the other doors as well. If you don't want that, the workaround for that would be to really create separate areas as well with just one meeting room door. So group 1 would just see one meeting room, click on the door and enter that one specific meeting room. So in that case, you just have to create different areas. I hope that kind of illustrates it for you. If it doesn't make it clear, please feel free to reach out to the sales team as well. We're more than happy as well to consult you on how to set up these different areas and what kind of makes sense in terms of a layout. Because if you have, of course, a lot of different user groups, it can get a little bit confusing. It would definitely make sense in the case to create some sort of overview of all your different areas, just that you really make sure that you have all the right connections, that you test all the connections. But as said, we're here to help you out there.
Thank you very much, Ilse, and thank you, Lisbeth, for answering the questions. If there are no more questions, we will now end this Magnid Monday meeting. We would like to thank you all for taking the time to join us today, and we hope that it helps you find the best solution for each of your use cases. As usual, we are here to support and our sales team as well. So please feel free to reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to consult you in finding the best format for your event or for your case study. Our next Magnid Monday meeting will take place on the 30th of May. So please make sure to save the date and keep an eye on the invitation. We would love to hear your feedback, so we kindly ask you to fill out a short survey by scanning the QR code you will see on the screen right now with your mobile phones. Again, thank you all very much for attending. I wish you a great afternoon and I hope to see you again next time.